Hi, this is Mike with 4 and 6 Music. What I want to go over in today's lesson is I want to go over chord comping on a big band chart. So for anyone who's interested in playing in a jazz band, especially if you're in high school, maybe this is music that you're not familiar with and guitar playing that you're not familiar with. And when you're playing in the big bands, a lot of times you're going to be asked to play chords that you're not used to playing, such as major sevens, minor sevens, rather than just a straight major chord or a minor chord. So the first thing is you have to get used to those chords. You have to familiarize yourself with those chords. So let me go over a couple of basic jazz chords so that when you see a jazz chart, it's not something that's like a totally different language. It's a little bit familiar. Because when you see C major 7, you're going to think, oh, well, I can just play C major. And yet you will have the correct notes, but you will be missing one note, which would be our major 7th. In this case, for our C major 7, that would be our B note over there. And if you notice with our C major 7, if I play it over here, it's a bar chord. So what I'm doing is I'm barring my first finger on the 3rd fret. And for this one, I'm going to be barring strings 1 through 5. So I am not going to be playing the 6th string, the low E string at all for this chord. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my, we'll work our way down from the 5th string. So 5th string, we're going to be playing on the 3rd fret. The D string, we're going to be using our 3rd finger on the 5th fret. Then our middle finger we're going to be using on the 4th fret of the G string. And then our pinky we're going to be playing on the 5th fret of the B string. And then our first finger, which is barred, is going to take care of the 3rd fret on the 1st string. So when we play that together, that's what we have. So that's one chord shape for the major 7, but of course you're not always going to be playing it with the root over here, which is our C. That's our root. That's what gives us the chord name. So we're not always going to be playing major 7s with our root on the 5th string, on the A string. We may be playing them when our root is on the low E string. So if we play a C major chord over there, the shape is going to be a little bit different. For this one, we don't have to bar our fingers, but what we do have to be aware of is that there are some strings that we are not playing that we kind of have to gloss over. So when we're doing this, we want to make sure that we're using our finger to block those strings so that they don't sound out. So we're going to start off with our first finger on the root, on the C note, on the 8th fret, on our low E string. And then we are not going to be playing our 5th string. So what I would do is I would make sure that my first finger is low and well, it's angled so that it blocks that A string from sounding out. Afterwards, on the D string, our 4th string, I'm going to add my ring finger to the 9th fret. Then I'm going to add my pinky to the 9th fret of the G string. Then I'm going to add my middle finger on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. And then I will not be playing that 1st string. So actually, I would use my first finger to not only block the 5th string, but also that 1st string. So that way, when I'm playing, I can strum like that, and I don't have to worry about hitting strings that are not supposed to sound out. Because if I am not blocking those strings, that's what's going to sound like. Doesn't sound bad necessarily, but it's not our C major 7. We're adding a couple more notes over there, though that E does work in the C major 7, but then we have the A added to that, which would be our 6th. So it would work for this chord if we're analyzing it. But then if we're playing something like a B flat major 7, and let's say we don't block those strings, we add that E natural with the B flat, and it doesn't really work for that major 7, B flat major 7. So you want to make sure that your fingers, or your first finger in this case for this major 7 chord, blocks that 5th string and 1st string. So that's our C major 7 over here and over there. And what you should get used to is moving the root around and just familiarizing yourself with the whole fretboard, especially if you're reading music. I mean, you just have to know where the notes are on the fretboard. But where to start, my suggestion would be the low E string and the A string. Because a lot of times when you're playing these chords, even if you're not playing jazz, let's say you're playing bar chords, like if we play our C major bar chord over here, you have to know that the root is on the 8th fret of the E string. So if you know that, then you know that this would be the C major bar chord. So we have our E chord, F, G, A, B, C, D, and then we go back to the E. And again, we're just following the root on the low E string. So that's our E note, F note, G, A, B, C, D, and then our octave E. So familiarize yourself with the notes on the low E and the A string, because that's going to help you a lot as far as moving chords around. So we have our major 7. After the major 7, we have a minor 7. So we'll play the D minor 7 for this. So D minor 7, we'll start with this bar chord for the minor 7, where our root is in the 5th string. So if you are familiar with the minor bar chord, this over here, basically it's like an A minor chord, open A minor. And this is how I like to describe bar chords. So we have our open A minor over here. Instead of using these fingers, we're going to switch our fingers around. So we're going to be using our 3rd finger, our ring finger on the 4th string, 2nd fret, our pinky on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and then our middle finger on the 2nd string, 1st fret. So that's our A minor, where I could barely get some of those notes out. There we go. I think it's time for me to cut my nails. So anytime your nails are a bit longer, I mean, mine are extremely long on my left hand, but it's long enough where I'm kind of unable to play as comfortably as I can and get these strings down. So if you're playing and you notice that you're having some difficulty with pressing the strings down that you normally don't have, probably have to trim your nails or cut them, or the nails. So we have our A minor chord, and what we're going to do is we're going to move this around, because this is our A string, that's our root for the chord. So let's say we go to B minor. It's basically going to be the same chord. Hold on as I cut my nails. All right, so let's see how that works out. Well, way easier. So yeah, it's really important that with how I generally work with my fingernail length is for my right hand, because that's my finger picking hand. I keep my nails a little bit longer, but again, with my left hand over here, since I'm going to be fretting the fretboard on the guitar, I want to make sure that my fingernails aren't too long, because as you could see from when I was trying to play that minor chord before, it's not comfortable, it doesn't sound right, it kind of sounds a little bit muddied up. Now it's way easier for me to play that chord. So anyway, back to business. Over here we have our A minor, open chord with alternate fingering, because what we're going to do with this is we're going to bring this same shape up, and then we're going to lay down our finger, our first finger over here on the 2nd fret. So this is going to be our B minor, because now on the A string, we're going to be playing our B roots, and all these notes coincide with our B minor chord. Then over here we have our C minor, starting on the 3rd fret, same shape. Same shape starting on the 5th fret, our D minor. Now to get the minor 7, all we have to do is take our pinky off, just like that. So we have our minor and our minor 7. And again, let me play it one more time just so you guys can hear the difference. And when you're playing these chords, my suggestion would be to play them as arpeggios, meaning one note at a time, just so you're sure that you're getting all the notes out clearly and that you could hear the difference yourself, because you want to make sure that you're hearing this as well. So there's our D minor, D minor 7, just like that. So that's our minor 7 with our root on the 5th string. And then if we play the minor 7 with our root on the 6th string, that's how we're going to play that chord. Either one of those. So what we're doing is we're actually only going to be using 2 fingers, our middle finger and our ring finger. And we're going to start with our 2nd finger, our middle finger on the roots, the D on the 6th string. And then we're going to take our 3rd finger and we're going to bar it. So when you bar it, you're going to be barring the 4th string, our D string, G string, our 3rd string, and our B string, 2nd string. You can bar the high E string as well, but that's going to be the same note as our low E string, which is our D. So there's really not necessary to add the D to that high E string. It's sort of redundant. If you want to, you can, but if you don't want to, you don't need to include that. All you have to do is bar the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. All right, and then your 3rd finger, just like when we were playing our C major 7, your 3rd finger will end up blocking that 1st string, so you don't even have to worry about it. And then, just like with our C major chord, the A string is not going to be played at all for this minor chord. So our middle finger, which is playing the root on our minor 7 chord, is going to block that 5th string, the A string, so that it doesn't sound out. So there's our minor 7 chord. So again, D minor, starting on the 5th fret with our root on the 5th string, and then our D minor here. On the 10th fret with our root on the 6th string. And then finally we have our dominant 7 chords. So with the dominant 7 chords, there are quite a few ways to play these, and a lot of times with dominant 7s, you're going to see extensions written on them. So you might see 7 sharp 9, 7 flat 9. You might see just a 9 chord, which would basically be a dominant chord with the 9th added to it. You might see a 7 sharp 5. That's also pretty common. If you don't know the extension, my suggestion would be just to play just a 7 chord, and then you can worry about learning the chord after rehearsal. So a lot of times when you're in rehearsals, you're going to be using the knowledge that you have up to that point. And if you're bumping into a chord that you've never seen before, try to find another chord that you're familiar with that's related to that chord. So again, with a 9 chord, with a 13 chord, and you may see a 13 chord as well, those are related to dominant 7 chords. So if you're not sure about the extension or how to play those, just play a dominant 7. Yeah, it's going to sound a little bit weird on something like a sharp 5, because for that you're alternating the 5th of the chord, which for our chords we have, if I use C as an example, we have our root, 3rd, 5th. So the 5th is our 3rd note over there, and then our 7th is our 4th note. So root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4. So all these chords are 4-note chords. But again, you have some extensions, or you're manipulating certain notes. So we might have like a 7 chord, like that. So that's going to sound a little bit different than our major 7 chord. So our dominant 7 chord, let's have a look at just basic dominant 7 chords. I'm going to do a whole video on dominant 7 chords because those are very versatile chords, just like the pentatonic scale, very versatile. So our C7 chord, going back to our C major 7, to get the C7 chord, all we have to do is take our middle finger off of the G string, and then our first finger since it's barred, we'll be playing on that 3rd fret, and that's our C7 chord. For our C7 chord, starting with our root on the 6th string rather than the 5th string, I'm going to give you a nice, I'll give you 2 different ways of playing this. So the bar chord, which again is like our major bar chord. So with our major bar chord, if we relate it to our E major chord, just like we did with the A minor, relating that to our minor bar chords, here's our E major, the open E major, which you guys should be familiar with. If you're not, then that's something that you have to learn. So we have our E major chord, but for this we're going to use alternate fingerings. So just like with our A minor, we're going to be using our ring finger, pinky, and middle finger. Same notes, different fingering. And then we're going to move up a half step or 1 fret, and then we're going to bar our 1st finger across all the strings on the 1st fret. Now we have our F major chords, because our root over there on the 6th string, 1st fret is F. 3rd fret we have our G major. 5th fret we have our A major. 7th fret we have our B major. And then the 8th fret we have our C major chord. But we want a dominant 7 chord, or just a 7 chord. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift our pinky up, and there we go, we got our C7 chord. So again, with the pinky on, it's a C major chord. With the pinky up off the string and our 1st finger taking care of the D string, our 4th string, we'll be playing the 4th string on the 8th fret. That's our C7 chord. But most of the time when I'm playing jazz, I'm not even using that bar chord. It's kind of cumbersome, and a lot of times with jazz guitar, less is more. So what we're going to do, rather than playing this clunky 7 chord, is we're going to play just a 3-note 7 chord. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep our 1st finger on the 6th string, 8th fret, get our root over there, the C. Then we're going to add our 2nd finger, or middle finger, to the 8th fret on the 4th string, so that's our B flat, that's the 7th of the chord. Then we're going to add our ring finger to the G string, our 3rd string, on the 9th fret, and that's our E, that's our 3rd. And that's all we need for the chord. So we have our root, 7th, 3rd. So if you notice when I went over the arpeggios, we have our root, 3rd, 5th, and then our flat 5, which gives us our dominant 7 sound. So if you notice, yeah, for that one, I left off 1 note, the 5th. For all chords, unless it's a sharp 5 or a flat 5, for most chords, you can leave off the 5th, and it won't really change much with the chord. You'll still be playing the most important notes in the chord. I mean, even if you take off the roots for that C7, as if you just play the B flat and then the E, the 7th and the 3rd, that's all you need actually for the C7. Because the bassist that you're playing with, or anyone taking care of those bass notes, would be playing that C note. So all you would really need is the 3rd and the 7th. And we call these guide tones because these are 2 of the most important notes in our 7 chords, both for major, minor, dominant 7, major, minor 7, anything like that. So if you want to strip down chords to the bare minimum, you can, but make sure you include the notes that are most important, which again are the 3rds and the 7ths. And I'll explain a little bit more of that and show you some different chord shapes in which we're only using the guide tones in another video. I just want to go over the basics of these chords, and I know I went maybe a little bit beyond the basics, But you know, rewatch the video if any points don't make sense. And these are things that I go over in my lessons, and I apply them to songs, because the most important thing is that you're taking these sorts of chords and you're applying them to music rather than just playing and learning them on their own, right? So that's what we would go over in private lessons at 4 on 6. So to book a lesson, you can fill out the form in the description box, and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. So I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.